Alexander, Caesar, Charlemagne, and I have founded empires. But on what did we rest the creations of our genius? Upon force. Jesus Christ founded his empire upon love, and at this hour millions of men would die for him. This soldier, I realized, must have had friends at home and in his regiment, yet he lay there deserted by all except his dog. I looked on, unmoved, at battles which decided the future of nations. Tearless, I had given orders which brought death to thousands. Yet here I was stirred, profoundly stirred to tears. And by what? By the grief of one dog. When a government is dependent upon bankers for money, they and not the leaders of the government control the situation, since the hand that gives is above the hand that takes. Money has no motherland, financiers are without patriotism and without decency, their sole object is gain. Great ambition is the passion of a great character. Those endowed with it may perform very good or bad acts. All depends on the principles which direct them. If the art of war were nothing but the art of avoiding risks, glory would become the prey of mediocre minds. I have made all the calculations, fate will do the rest. The herd seek out the great, not for their sake but for their influence, and the great welcome them out of vanity or need. One must learn to forgive and not to hold a hostile, bitter attitude of mind, which offends those about us and prevents us from enjoying ourselves. One must recognize human shortcomings and adjust himself to them rather than to be constantly finding fault with them. All great events hang by a single thread. The clever man takes advantage of everything, neglects nothing that may give him some added opportunity. The less clever man, by neglecting one thing, sometimes misses everything. I am surrounded by priests who repeat incessantly that their kingdom is not of this world, and yet they lay hands on everything they can get. Impossible is the word found only in a fool's dictionary. Wise people create opportunities for themselves and make everything possible. To write history one must be more than a man, since the author who holds the pen of this great justiciary must be free from all preoccupation of interest or vanity. If the art of war were nothing but the art of avoiding risks, glory would become the prey of mediocre minds. I have made all the calculations, fate will do the rest. One must indeed be ignorant of the methods of genius to suppose that it allows itself to be cramped by forms. Forms are for mediocrity, and it is fortunate that mediocrity can act only according to routine. Ability takes its flight unhindered. It is not true that men never change, they change for the worse, as well as for the better. It is not true they are ungrateful, more often the benefactor rates his favors higher than their worth, and often too he does not allow for circumstances. If few men have the moral force to resist impulses, most men do carry within themselves the germs of virtues as well as of vices, of heroism as well as of cowardice. Such is human nature. Education and circumstances do the rest. Among so many conflicting ideas and so many different perspectives, the honest man is confused and distressed and the skeptic becomes wicked. Since one must take sides, one might as well choose the side that is victorious, the side which devastates, loots, and burns. Considering the alternative, it is better to eat than to be eaten. It is a mistake, too, to say that the face is the mirror of the soul. The truth is, men are very hard to know, and yet, not to be deceived, we must judge them by their present actions, but for the present only. What are the conditions that make for the superiority of an army? Its internal organization, military habits in officers and men, the confidence of each in themselves, that is to say, bravery, patience, and all that is contained in the idea of moral means. In politics nothing is immutable. Events carry within them an invincible power. The unwise destroy themselves in resistance. The skillful accept events, take strong hold of them and direct them. It is only by prudence, wisdom, and dexterity, that great ends are attained and obstacles overcome. Without these qualities nothing succeeds. Lead the ideas of your time and they will accompany and support you, fall behind them and they drag you along with them, oppose them and they will overwhelm you. We are made weak both by idleness and distrust of ourselves. Unfortunate, indeed, is he who suffers from both. If he is a mere individual he becomes nothing, if he is a king he is lost. The love of glory is like the bridge that Satan built across chaos to pass from hell to paradise. Glory links the past with the future across a bottomless abyss. A commander-in-chief cannot take as an excuse for his mistakes in warfare an order given by his sovereign or his minister, when the person giving the order is absent from the field of operations and is imperfectly aware or wholly unaware of the latest state of affairs. It follows that any commander-in-chief who undertakes to carry out a plan which he considers defective is at fault. He must put forward his reasons, insist on the plan being changed, and finally tender his resignation rather than be the instrument of his army's downfall. A commander-in-chief ought to say to himself several times a day, if the enemy should appear on my front, on my right, on my left, what would I do? And if the question finds him uncertain, he is not well placed, he is not as he should be, and he should remedy it. Men have their virtues and their vices, their heroisms and their perversities. Men are neither wholly good nor wholly bad, but possess and practice all that there is of good and bad here below. Such is the general rule. Temperament, education, the accidents of life, are modifying factors. Outside of this, everything is ordered arrangement, everything is chance. Such has been my rule of expectation and it has usually brought me success. War is becoming an anachronism. If we have battled in every part of the continent it was because two opposing social orders were facing each other, the one which dates from 1789, and the old regime. They could not exist together, the younger devoured the other. I know very well, that, in the final reckoning, it was war that overthrew me the representative of the French Revolution, and the instrument of its principles. But no matter. The battle was lost for civilization, and civilization will inevitably take its revenge. There are two systems, the past and the future. The present is only a painful transition. Which must triumph? The future, will it not? Yes indeed, the future. That is, intelligence, industry, and peace. The past was brute force, privilege, and ignorance. Each of our victories was a triumph for the ideas of the revolution. Victories will be won, one of these days, without cannon and without bayonets.